30,000 milliwatts of power. Broadcasting almost across the valley. AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Just want to welcome everybody to the CEO Saturday Morning Radio Show and Economan 2. And I see, Dennis, that you survived the end of the earth yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. The end of the world did not happen, and I'm really happy about that. I don't know about you.
Well, I'm happy, too. It's good to see you again. And we have a great show today. We've got Larry Broughton that's going to be coming on in a few minutes.
Yes, he is. And you know, one thing I wanted to tell you is that in all my business experience, I have learned that it is very important to learn from other people. In fact, just this weekend, I went on Friday, I went over to, or Thursday, I don't know, someday recently, I just went over to, drove all the way into Los Angeles to see Sandra D. Robinson, who is an actress. She's been on all kinds of different daytime TV shows and commercials, and she teaches how to be on camera. And I don't know if you know, Dewey. Well, yeah, you do know, because I bring in my equipment every once in a while. I'm doing a video business tip membership program. So I thought, I really needed to see what I've been doing wrong and learn from somebody else. So I went over, and she is absolutely fabulous, and tells a story about how she was just very, very bashful when she first started. Even though she was on TV, when she had to speak on her own, she was scared to death. And while I don't have that problem, maybe I should be more scared to death. I'll be more professional when I'm on camera.
Well, that's because you don't have an audience when you're filming. Why don't you invite me down, and I'll see if I can scare you a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd see you making faces behind the camera. That should relax me a little bit.
No, I'll write your cue cards.
There you go. Well, listen, I wanted to just mention Sandra, and that's just one example of different things that I've done and gone to learn about my business. And I think that's so important for everybody to take that time to find out what you need to find out. Don't think you know it all. We never know it all. The older I get, the more I realize I really don't know very much. And we continue to learn from other people. And today, we have Larry Broughton that's going to be on the air with us today as our special guest. And Larry has an incredible background. Larry has been a Special Forces member of the military. He has owned and runs a chain of luxury hotels, and he runs a advisory company that they've advised companies like, let's say the Pentagon. Have you heard of the Pentagon before?
Yeah, I think it's a 5-sided figure somewhere, isn't it?
I think so. Like, isn't that the same as the stop sign or something?
Yeah, that's actually that's where I met my wife. She was part of the D-Ring.
Oh,
Air Force. Yeah, she was stationed there.
Very good, very good. Well, maybe we'll
go ahead.
Anyway, he's interviewed with some great companies, big groups, and we want to bring him on the air and welcome him. Now, he has been featured, by the way, on CBS and NBC and ABC and all kinds of different great stations like that. And he's finally reached his ultimate life goal of being on the air with Dennis and Dewey today. So we're grateful to have you joining us. Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. So we just want you to confirm that this has always been your life goal to be on our show. Is that right?
Well, given that the Earth has survived, then yes, this is actually the pinnacle of my career at this point. So thanks, guys, for having me on here. I can cross this off my bucket list.
There you go. Good. Absolutely. Well, this is your first radio show since the new world has begun.
Yes, that's right.
You're a survivor. Congratulations. Hey, Merry Christmas, Larry. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate your time. And in fact, I happen to know that you are in Palm Springs with some family, and we appreciate you taking time out of your personal life to share some business tips and motivational tips with us this morning with our guests.
Oh, it's an honor. Anytime I get a chance to talk about entrepreneurship and leadership, I am on board with it because I just believe that these folks are the backbone of our economy and our country, and the more anything I can do to serve those folks, I am just sign me up.
Excellent.
Okay, sign on the line. You're hired.
Well, we have, just to let you know, too, this morning, our timed show, our little intro music and all that stuff didn't seem to happen, so we'll definitely put that in on the archive later. But when we've got about 12 minutes here before it goes to do something. We're not sure what yet. But
it says break.
Yeah,
but we don't know what that means.
Break.
See you, Larry. Break time.
Yeah, this was an awesome show. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, no problem.
Boy, that was the shortest leadership I've ever seen in my life.
It sure was. Yeah, it's little sound bites. That's what it's all about. It's sound bites. Well, Larry, we're spending too much time joking around. We want to get some real information from you here. And you have had some great experiences in your life. What would you say would be the advice? Well, most of our listeners are either running a business and trying to grow it right now in this economy, or they are starting a business from scratch. And you and I spoke on the phone last night, and I told you I was trying to coin the phrase forced entrepreneurs for those that are out of a job and trying to start a business. And you brought up an even better term that you've been using, the accidental entrepreneur, which
yeah. Well, I guess a little bit of advice first. Entrepreneurship, business ownership, and even leadership positions, I think, it's hard. It's hard work. I don't think enough people talk about that stuff. And, there's so many snake oil salesmen out there that are trying to sell a system that sounds like it's going to be easy, and it's just not. I mean, as you mentioned, I've worked with the Pentagon and Turner Broadcasting and some, huge companies and literally thousands of startup entrepreneurs. And the message is this: it's hard work. And so because it's hard work, I just advise people, do stuff that you're passionate about.
Right.
Because when you wake up in the morning and you're passionate about life and about what you're doing, it makes it a little bit easier. It takes the edge off a little bit. And the other piece is just stick with it. You got to be tenacious. Tenacity is just one of the keys to success. And so I think that if you're not willing to just keep on pushing forward and putting one dusty, bloody boot in front of the other, because it's going to be a battle sometimes,
right?
You're probably not cut out to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. And then the accidental entrepreneurship that we were talking about last night, Dennis, I think, is that, there are a lot of folks who have become entrepreneurs and business owners because they've been forced out of their jobs, or their retirement has been, obliterated over the last several years, and so they've tried to start a business, and that makes it even more difficult, I think, for some folks. But that doesn't mean it's not impossible. People can absolutely do it, but you guys were talking about earlier. The key is to surround ourselves with people who are bolder and brighter than we are, that we can lean on, coaches and mentors and friends and those kind of things. So those are a couple of tips I would say to start with right out of the gate.
I think that's good. And in fact, that's, a lot of people I heard I've been running my own business since I was very young, and I remember whenever I left my first job and started my first business as an adult, a lot of people had that same thought, I don't want to have a boss anymore. You find out as soon as you
make my life too difficult.
Yeah, all of a sudden you realize every customer is your boss, so you have
absolutely
50 million bosses rather than one.
Yeah, that's right. But we forget that. We think that the product that we're creating or the service that we're developing, if I like it, then that's good enough. And basically screw the language, but screw the customer. Well, that is absolutely wrong. If we're not providing a service or a product that consumers want, not necessarily that they need, but that they want, then we're not going to be in business for very long.
That's very true. In fact, we've talked about some of them previous shows about doing feasibility studies and finding out whether or not what it is that you're offering is really something that's needed out there. Yeah. Find out what your target market is.
Yeah, the funny thing is what I see too often is that people go into business, or they have come up with a business idea, and then they develop a business plan or feasibility study to support their idea. And so they automatically go into business with a slanted perspective of what they should be doing. When really the feasibility study and the business plan ought to be the homework. You shouldn't even decide whether you're going to do this concept, until you complete the business plan or the feasibility study. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You may get to the end of it and say, you know what, hey, this business isn't going to work. That's when you're doing it right.
You know, I wanted to also ask if you would share, I heard you speak at an event fairly recently, and you talked about the steps that you took when you wanted to get into the hospitality industry. You didn't just have somebody give you a whole ton of money and you just bought some hotels. You worked your way through that. Could you tell that story?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm not sure which one I shared with you, but I kind of fell into entrepreneurship in that my first job out of the military was at a no-tell motel in San Francisco, and my job was to be the night auditor. I went in at 11 o'clock at night and worked till 7 o'clock in the morning. My job was to keep the peace among the drug dealers and the pimps and the prostitutes, and this was in San Francisco, and those were just my coworkers, by the way. And I'm not kidding you.
Where was the hotel again?
Scene. But after being there for a short period of time, an investment group came in and purchased this hotel with the idea of turning it into a boutique rock and roll hotel. And so I started out. It was basically employment to ownership was the path that I think some people will take. After being there, the story is this. I showed up. I thrived where I was planted. I did the best I could absolutely do as a night auditor in a no-tell motel. That was not my goal. My goal was to get into politics, into political science, to get to the State Department. That's really what I wanted to do. But because I just did the best that I could right there, the new ownership group recognized that and ultimately asked me to become a partner in this hotel company. And so we didn't know a whole lot about the hotel industry. The managing member of that investment group was just about 18 months older than I am at the time. We were both in our, mid-20s. And so we went out and we asked people who were bolder and brighter than we were, what do you do? What are you doing to succeed? We went out and we spoke to the people who were doing it right and the people who were doing it wrong. Because I believe that we learn more from our mistakes and from our failures and from our defeats than we do from our victories and our successes. And so we were asking everybody anything that we could. We kind of humbled ourselves, put our pride on the shelf, and went out and spoke to people who were bolder and brighter than we were about the hotel industry. And we learned a whole lot by doing that. It was fun along the way, because if you're not learning, you're not living.
No, I love that. It sounds like a lyric to a song, too. If you're not loving, you're not
I
living.
need to write that down.
Something like that, yeah. Better get the guitar out after this show here. Get it going.
I could do the next music little breakaway.
We can do that. We just stopped our automation anyway, so we can do breaks whenever we want today. So how's that for you? We'll get your song on here in a minute. Well, I like the idea that you shared and your story that you shared, because our listeners need to know that you don't just jump in and become an owner. There are some steps to take, and I like your story. I like the fact that you worked with some interesting characters and that you were able to work your way up. And I think that's hope for people that are trying to figure out what to do in this economy right now.
Yeah. Well, it can absolutely suck your lifeblood, this economy right now, if you're not focused on the right things. You'd mentioned that I'm here with my kids out in Palm Springs right now. Believe me, it got to the point, we live busy lives, but if we're not focusing on the stuff that's really important, that all this business stuff, hey, listen, I've made mistakes in entrepreneurship, believe it or not.
That's good. That's good.
And, and one of them is I've got broken relationships along the way. I had my priorities screwed up and do from time to time. I focus too much on business. I think this is, what I need to be doing, when in actuality, I need to be focusing on the people that are really important in my life, and build the business around the lifestyle that I want, and not have the business ruin my life, basically. Because if it runs your life, it's going to ruin your life ultimately.
That life balance is so important. I really think that's good that you brought that up, because especially somebody that's brand new to business, they think, oh my gosh, I've got to work 25 hours a day and get this thing up off the ground. And yeah, it does take hard work, but it's also true that, taking a few hours away to help color in a coloring book with your kids or whatever it may be is worth it.
Yeah, you know what? And there are going to be times when you're working 25 hours a day, or it's going to feel like that. No doubt about it. But if you're doing that for any sustained period of time, there's two things wrong. Either there's a broken business model or a broken leadership model. in this, and we've got to tweak that, because believe me, there's times when I pull all-nighters, and I've been doing this for a long time at this point, but because there's a deadline and we've got to get something done, or if you're about to launch a business, yeah, there's going to be times when you're burning the midnight oil, but if you're doing that year in and year out, there is absolutely something wrong. And if you don't have people that are around you that are going to speak the truth into you, whether it's a board of advisors or a coach or a mentor or just a friend or family member, then you need to reconnect, because you're isolating, because plenty of other people are going to see it long before we see it ourselves.
Oh, very true. I've been teaching in my college class a little bit about key performance indicators. So I'm just thinking maybe we can kind of switch that way. When somebody's brand new, we have listeners that run different size businesses, and larger businesses are very familiar with what they need to look at to measure the success of their business, or we call them the key performance indicators. What do you think are some of the things that a new entrepreneur can look at to evaluate whether it looks like their business is working or not?
Well, I think that too often we measure our success just by our top line revenue. People say, well, gosh, I'm making all this money, but that's not it. Really, too often we forget the difference between profit and cash flow. We've got to really focus on those. But I don't think that you're going to have sustainable success unless you're measuring how you're comparing to the competition, and that's market penetration. And so I always encourage people to make sure that they're not only doing their profit and loss statements. You got to do those, right? They're doing doing their balance sheet, but they've got to be talking to the customer one way or another. You've got to be measuring your customer satisfaction. I see key performance indicators all the time, and they forget to put that in there. What's my guest or customer satisfaction scores, particularly compared to the industry? There are ways to find this stuff. There's market metrics reports out there that measure customer satisfaction across several different industries. Because if you're not satisfying your customers and you're not gaining market share, well, guess what happens? Someone's going to come along who's going to make them happy.
Right.
And so what we do is we have all of our clients do a competitive set analysis. And what that is basically we identify who are the 6 or 8 competitors that we're competing directly with, and we put those across the top of the paper, and down the left side of the paper, we put all the services, all the amenities, all the products at price points. And then we just, wherever the holes are, that's our competitive advantage. And one of those might be customer satisfaction.
Right.
Think about it. Is there a business that you buy from on a regular basis if they have bad customer service or a bad product? No. I think of my barbershop. The place I go, they know how to cut my hair. I don't have to ask when I go in. We know each other's names. I've been going there for 25 years or so, which, let's see, do the math, that's since I was 5. And yes, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So absolutely, you're right that customer service is so important, and keeping track of that. When somebody's at your point of purchase, whatever that may be, if you're running a retail business or something with a cash register, that's where you need to ask the questions. If they purchase from you online, you need to do some kind of survey. Being able to gather that information is essential. Are you a Michael Gerber fan, the E-Myth?
Absolutely. Okay. I think that's one of those key books that I recommend everyone to read. But Dennis, let me throw this out there for you. Here's one of my secrets, literally, that I share with very few people. So I'm the CEO of this one of the hotel company that you had mentioned, and so most of your listeners have stayed at a hotel, right?
Right.
And so they should be asked at checkout, like you just said, hey, how was your stay? Right? You should be getting that. Well, you should also be receiving like an electronic guest comment card or a guest comment card in your hotel room. But you know what the truth of the matter is? Most people are never going to say how their experience was when you ask them at checkout.
Okay.
It's only the people that had the very best of experiences, the very worst of experiences that are ever going to fill out a guest comment card. So here's what I do. I call a guest. Every Monday when I go into the office, my assistant hands me at some point before noon a stack of random people who have checked out in the last 10 days. And I sit down and I call them throughout the week. And I say, hey, this is Larry, CEO of Broughton Hotels. I understand you stayed at one of our hotels recently. And I'm just checking in. How did things go for you? And I have a few questions that I ask, but really I'm just checking in. I want to find out how things went. When's the last time you got a call from a CEO of any business, any product, any service that you use?
That
you probably never got it.
No,
right?
no.
10 out of 10 times, I've been doing this for years, people are blown away when they get this call. And so guess what that does? Two things. I learn directly from the horse's mouth how their experience was. And number two, that builds an incredible sense of loyalty that, holy smokes, this guy cares about my stay. Right. And then they go out and talk about the company somewhere else.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that secret with our guests here, because that is so important to make that follow-up contact. I love that.
Yeah. It's so simple to do, too. It costs me nothing.
No, that's great. That's great. Makes me want to go stay in one of your hotels, see if I get on your random list.
Yeah.
Well, that explains why Dennis calls me all the time.
We're just lonely.
How am I doing? What's my customer satisfaction rating?
That's right. Are you happy with me on the air?
Well, let's see. Are you using stars or circles?
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to take a little break here, and we're going to come back. And what I want you to think about is, what do you think that some of the best tips or the best skills that Larry brought with him from his time as a special forces agent to help him stay motivated and on target when he's dealing with business and with his personal life. So when we come back from break, those are some of the things that we'll talk about. Does that sound good, Larry?
Sounds awesome.
Great. I'd like to add one thing. I also like you to think about, Larry, about how those skills were utilized at the hotel in San Francisco, the No Motel.
Oh, yes. No Motel.
There's got to be a survival issue here somewhere.
Yeah, we may have to go overtime on this one today. All right, Larry, we'll be back in a minute. Thanks for being on the air with us, and stay tuned.
Very best friends, Dewey and Dennis, about the new radio show. It is being broadcast from Mount San Jacinto in beautiful Southern California. It's called the Saturday Morning CEO and Economan Radio Show. You know what, Dewey, he is a college economics guru, and Dennis was a real-life CEO of $1 million company. What I like best is they explain the economy so even I can understand this, and they help people grow their business. They have guests on that own their own companies and also community leaders. They take callers on live radio Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. on AM 1620 locally, and of course anywhere else live on the internet. It's SaturdayMorningRadio.com. Do what I say and listen to my very good friends every week. I give you my personal promise you will learn stuff, and you know what, they actually kind of make my side hurt when they tell all the jokes. You need to just listen to them once, and I guarantee you'll be back.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I don't know how to talk like a parent. Don't make me come back there. You see what I mean? It's pretty awful. Try it again. Don't make me come back there. Now that's pretty good. That one kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And at the end of the day, the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. So United Way is asking you to make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Be a reader, tutor or mentor. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Take the pledge now at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Well, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Radio Show with Dennis and Dewey. Hey, I just want to let everyone know that if you have any calls for Larry, you can call our call-in line at 747-777-6263. That's 747-777-6263.
Hey, we're glad to have you back, Larry, on the air here, and we want to talk to you about, find out from you what you brought with you from your time in the military. In fact, I don't know if you have any Any stories you can share with us? Don't tell us the ones that you have to kill us afterwards, though.
Well, I don't know if I've got any specific stories for you, but let me share this with your listeners first of all, and that is that most people don't know this, but military veterans start businesses at a rate 4 times greater than the general population. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
When you think about that, 4 times greater than the general population, and according to Korn Ferry, they enjoy almost twice the success rate in business. They have more longevity in business than their non-veteran counterparts, and so So the question is why? Why is that? And so I've been studying this for several years. In fact, I've got a book out on this, and we've clearly, there's the leadership thing, of course. How many 19-year-olds do you know that are out there, if they're not in the military, they're doing real-world leadership stuff? That's just not happening, right? And so, sure, we know how to lead, we know how to, be on a team, but there's also things about vision, being able to have a vision and a sense of mission that's bigger than who we are. Some of the very specific things that I brought back was this, that anytime we went out on a mission, when we came back, we always did an AAR, an after-action review, every time, no matter what happened. And all that is basically, hey, what worked, what didn't, where did we go right, where did we go wrong? And we don't place blame on that. If every business owner would do that, they'd see much bigger success after they do a marketing campaign or they open a new shop or whatever it is. And the other thing is, we always had contingency plans. Always had contingency plans. Basically, those are just if-then scenarios. If this happens, then we're going to respond this way, so that we don't get paralyzed in the heat of combat. It just becomes reflexive. Because the truth of the matter is, in the military they say, no plan survives contact with the enemy.
Right.
Okay? No plan survives contact with the enemy. Well, in business, that's a new competitor coming into the market. And so if we don't have contingency plans, then we and the other thing is, General Patton has a great quote that I just say to myself every day. I mean, if you walk around my house or my office, you'll see little postings of this just to remind me. And he said that a good plan, violently executed today, is better than a perfect plan next week. And I'm sure you see this all the time, that people try to develop this perfect business plan or this perfect marketing plan, and it's 450 pages, and boy, is it beautiful. But they can't execute on it because they get stuck in analysis paralysis, just thinking about, oh my gosh, this has got to be perfect before I go to market. Well, no, it's just a good plan. He doesn't say a great plan or a stellar plan, just a good plan. Because the idea is, if you just start moving out, and if you start asking your customers, right, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, you can just make 5 or 10 degree course corrections along the way and improve your product in market stuff. And the other thing is, you got to surround, like I said earlier, surround yourself with people who are bolder and brighter than you. That's part of building an elite team. Because if nobody builds better teams. I don't care. I'll argue this to my death. Nobody builds better teams than the U.S. military. If you look at the Navy SEALs or the Army Special Forces, the Green Berets, what I was in, those are the most elite teams in the world. And somehow they were able to figure out, how do you put 12 Type A, hard-charging, high IQ guys in a room and make synergy happen instead of just, fighting and arguing. I mean, that's what you would get in a typical boardroom.
Right.
But what they've done is they've been able to focus on people's strengths, number one, and get the people with the right character in the room. Because we forget that, you need to be motivated, absolutely, but motivation without integrity is dangerous. And so they make sure that they've got people with high character traits. And that's just so important in business because, there's times where we've got to do, the hard right over the easy wrong. Because those people who were motivated and didn't have integrity, or they didn't do the hard right over the easy wrong during this last recession. That's how we got in this last recession, wasn't it? I mean, that's
very true.
The big crash, right?
The lack of integrity.
Yeah. So that might have been machine gun information for you, rapid fire. But that's basically the stuff that I learned that I've tried to apply to business. Because I try to say that as much as possible because I forgot that for a while. I turned my back on my veteran status for a while. I stopped. I thought I was the smartest guy in the room for a while.
Yeah. Well, you were.
Because I stopped surrounding myself with people who were older and brighter than me. You're right, I have Dennis. That's a terrible thing to do.
Right.
And in the recession during 2001, I crashed and burned. I made plenty of mistakes. I failed, frankly.
Yeah,
Hey, I just got a follow-up question for you, Larry. You brought up a very good point about the fiscal crisis, 2008 to 2009, basically. Yeah. And I'm not going to name any names, drop names on the air, but how much do you think is that attributed to a culture shift in our society and the way the media, promotes success, promotes glamour, what it is to be successful?
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is, but I do believe that it absolutely contributed to it. There was a panic, I think, that set out, and we took our eyes off of the important things. But what I think it has done, I can go back and kind of study my navel all day long and figure out how did we get there, and I think that is indeed important. But I'll tell you what I believe is happening right now is that we are moving into what I'm calling a relationship economy. We've had this kind of, people call it experience economy for a while, but I believe that people recognize now that what we're going to start seeing is a lot more collaborative success versus what I call competitive success. People doing joint ventures with each other, people recognizing that, hey, there's enough business out there for all of us and we can support each other along the way. And that's why I think you're seeing more success with women in entrepreneurship right now. And frankly, there are more women starting businesses during the last 12 months than there have been than men have.
Okay.
Women they're better at building relationships with each other. They're more ready to step out and offer a helping hand to people than men.
Okay, so cooperation versus competition then.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a fair assessment.
Yeah, a good example is that, and I keep getting the name of the computer company wrong, but I believe that it was I think it was Compaq. Anyway.
Oh, I was going to say Commodore.
There you go. Dating yourself. Anyway, there was a computer company that decided to work together with UPS, and they have trained UPS employees to fix their laptops at their Atlanta post, at the airport there where their outlet is. So instead of the laptops coming through UPS to their factory and getting fixed, it's all fixed right there by UPS employees. So they've actually joined forces together and shared in this process to help speed things up for the customer, so they get their laptops back in 3 to 4 days instead of 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of cooperation you're talking about?
Absolutely, but that's kind of cross-industry stuff. I'm talking about in the industry.
Okay.
I'm talking about people working in the same industry with each other, and so I don't know. I think that too often we don't reach out to our competitors. I was on a hotel panel, a CEO panel for hoteliers a few weeks ago, I guess it is now, and we were talking about this, how many people require their general managers to actually go stay at the competitors' hotels.
Huh.
And very few do. And there were two of us on our, yeah, absolutely, that's what we do. We require them to go do it. And I went beyond that. I said, you know what? The leaders, the managers of our hotels need to act like the CEO of their little business, and they need to be attending community events. They need to actually be friendly and friends with the general managers of the other hotels around, because there's going to come a time when you're going to need their help.
Understood.
And I'm not talking about price sharing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm talking about just, like the stuff that we're talking about right now, being honest with people, about your business. Hey, what's working and what's not? Because, the more competitive the market gets, the better we get at it. Yeah. And if we don't share the stuff, the industry just kind of lags. And every industry's gone through this, where they have their dark days and their bright days. And I'm just a big believer. Just get out there and help everyone be successful around you. I don't care whether they're competition or not. It's a big world. There's enough business out there for all of us. If you're getting into a business and you can't afford one more competitor to come into the marketplace, you're in the wrong business.
Right.
Or you got the wrong business model.
Hey, Larry, I got a question for you regarding the relational economy. What's your take on a relational economy versus a regulation economy?
Gosh.
I would love to work with you, but I might be perceived as some sort of antitrust violation, whether it's international or domestic, and get my hand slapped. We don't seem to promote.
I'm not suggesting that there's price fixing and all that kind of stuff. There's got to be some regulation when it comes to safety, when it comes to, like consumer products. I absolutely believe that there needs to be some kind of testing and And I don't want to be. I believe that we get over-regulated and I believe, let the consumer decide, whether the product is good or bad. If it's not, if it's not a safety issue. There's some regulation is good. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to be getting on an airplane if there wasn't some form of regulation that there's going to be certain safety checks happening. So it's like anything, it's moderation. There's got to be some balance in there. And the truth of the matter is, the regulation's not going to go away. Sorry, folks. We can kind of stay, hold it off a little bit, but regulation's here. If it gets overly regulated, then yeah, that stifles creativity, I believe.
Oh yeah, that definitely impedes upon it, and also it doesn't. It prevents rewarding the entrepreneurs and the innovators in the economy. So what you set up is a barrier for business.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree.
I wanted to. We're going to go to break, and we're going to say goodbye to Larry here in just a minute, and move on to our wacky business ideas and all our other stuff after the break. But before we do that, I wanted to ask Larry two questions. One is, do you see much difference between the mindset of somebody running a multi-million-dollar business versus a small, $800,000 a year business? And if so, what is that difference, and what does the smaller business guy need to do to step up the speed? And then the last thing is, any final secret advice that you have for someone that is in that accidental entrepreneur station in their life right now?
Yeah.
Ooh, the secret recipe.
The first question about, is there much difference in the mindset? Well, there shouldn't be. Let me put it that way. As we spoke earlier, I've worked with large organizations and entrepreneurial startups, and the problems that we have, they're all the same. It's just magnitude. Every huge behemoth organization that's out there started out somewhere in someone's garage, or it started out as just a concept, just a vapor in someone's mind at some point. But that large organization who's had enduring success, they've done the stuff that we've talked about here earlier. I've been blessed. I've interviewed about 120 top CEOs, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs in the country over the last several years, where we've really dove deep on some of this stuff. And it's the stuff that we're talking about right now. But they kept driving forward. They put one foot in front of the other every day. They didn't quit. And they stopped all that negative mindset stuff, the I'm not good enough, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I don't have enough capital, or whatever it is. They brushed that aside. They got those people who were sucking their lifeblood out of their life, and they surrounded themselves with people who are bolder, brighter, and they were cheerleaders. You've got to have that stuff because it's going to be difficult, but you got to just keep driving on. If you're passionate about what you're doing, and you're honest with yourself, because sometimes there are just bad products out there. Let's be truthful. And people will just, hey, I'm passionate about this, and I've got to make this work. If you have people that are bolder and brighter around you, they're going to tell you, hey, this is not a good idea. You need to shift gears a little bit. So, you got to have a positive mindset. No doubt. You just got to keep driving forward. Regarding the accidental entrepreneur, business is hard. Business is hard. And I think that entrepreneurship is absolutely the path to freedom, economic freedom in your time. Gives you time in your life if you set the business up properly. And you might be going into business ownership kicking and screaming, but it can absolutely be a freedom-creating, revenue-generating, life-sustaining life force in your business. In your life. Get a coach, get a mentor who can help you along, build a board of advisors. And if anyone's interested in finding out how to build a board of advisors, I've got on my website, if you just Google or do a search on my website on BroughtonAdvisory.com, an article that I did on, just type in board of advisors, an article will come up on how to develop a great board of advisors who can help you along the way, because there's going to be challenges, there's going to be mistakes you're going to make. And so you don't want to be a lone wolf, that's for sure. Lone wolves don't have enduring success.
No, that's a great tip. And so you mentioned your website, and we'd love to have people stop by and visit and learn a little bit more about you and what you do. And short of staying at one of your hotels and getting a personal phone call maybe later, what is the best way for them to try to contact you or your advisory committee if they're interested in you coaching them?
Yeah, just go to BroughtonAdvisory.com. It's BROUGHTON advisory.com. And, I'm not going to sell you anything, but you can sign up for a weekly flashpoints. Every Tuesday I send out a little newsletter, but there's a flashpoint in there is what I call it. It's just 130 words of inspiration, motivation, or a tip on leadership, entrepreneurship, business ownership, personal and professional growth. It's just a fun little email that I send out. And again, it's 130 words. You got time to read 130 words, I'm sure, and hopefully it'll inspire you throughout the week and give you something to think about. But then get that at BroughtonAdvisory.com.
Thank you so much, and I feel that we have been inspired by your words today, and grateful to have you on as a guest, and I hope you're going to have some fun playing with grandchildren here over the Christmas holiday.
Yippee-ki-yay! Woohoo! Hey, I just want to let the listeners know that I've been inspired by one word today.
What word was that?
Broughton.
Oh.
The best in Broughton. Okay.
That's very good. Well, enjoy your time there and play around with the kids and know what life balance is all about. Thank you for coming on the air and sharing your secrets with us. We promise not to tell anybody.
Great. Lone wolf.
All right, Larry. Well, I will see you around the campus of life.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
Hello, Dad.
Susan? Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and maybe see some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Move Time Radio, presented by the Arthritis Foundation, and we're smack dab in the middle of our dance-a-thon to fight arthritis pain. Me, I've been grooving for 10 hours straight, baby, but I'm a boogie machine. See, movement is just one of the ways to help fight osteoarthritis pain. Another is weight loss. You get rid of just 1 pound. That's 4 pounds of pressure off each knee. For more information on managing pain, visit fightarthritispain.org. Then meet me on the dance floor. This message brought to you by the Arthritis Foundation and the Ad Council.
I haven't heard of this anywhere else in the entire country. Here's my story. I haven't been able to find work and might start a business instead. But even my friend who owns a business is struggling in this economy. I wasn't sure where to go for help. Then I found out the economics department chair at MSJC College has joined with a semi-retired CEO with million-dollar business success, who now consults, is a published business author and speaker. Dewey and Dennis are volunteering their time to explain the economy and business to us in a fun, easy-to-understand way, with guest interviews and listener call-in questions live on the air. The Saturday Morning CEO and Economan Show is every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific Time locally on AM 1620 or as streaming audio at www.saturdaymorningradio.com. Listen in, but don't tell anyone else. This is our little secret.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Radio Show with Dewey and Dennis.
Hey!
Hey! Wasn't Larry Broughton great?
Oh, he was awesome. I love having him on the show.
He had a lot of good information. That's stuff you don't get out of the textbook.
No. And if you didn't catch the secrets, then you better go back and listen to the archive.
Well, I was going to talk a little about the fiscal cliff today, but because we're running short on time, I thought I would just discuss a little bit about Christmas gifts.
Oh,
But-
hey, it's kind of Christmas time. Isn't that like in a couple days?
But this is economy Christmas gifts.
Oh, okay.
Even though the U.S. is in distress, but we have a lot to say about that. But next week we'll be talking about Economic Watch and the fiscal whatchamacallit. It's called a lot of things these days. But
fiscal, is that like the Baywatch?
Could
TV
be.
show, fiscal
But
watch?
hey, listeners, come out next Saturday after Christmas, and we'll be talking about what the fiscal cliff means under a new theme called Economic Watch. But
Awesome.
hey, here's some economic Christmas presents. Just want you to know that the Consumer Confidence Index is up by 10 points, so consumers are feeling a little bit better about their pocketbooks and about their economy. The other Christmas gift is unemployment's down. Yay! It's down 7.9% compared to 9% last year.
I
So
think
that's something to be thankful for.
that's a good Christmas gift.
And here's another Christmas gift. The economy is growing. Despite some industry bad news, the economy is still growing 2% last quarter. They expect, depending upon which way the fiscal cliff is going, expect positive growth as well for 2013.
And my prediction still stands that Twinkies will come back strong.
Well, the Twinkies are back. They're just not called Twinkies.
Did somebody
The competitors
buy 'em up?
have moved in. They've saw market penetration. They've saw an opportunity. And now we're buying a form of a yellow sponge cake.
Really?
With white cream frosting inside.
Is that right?
I don't know who the sponsor is, but
I don't know. I'm not allowed to buy anything like that, or my trainer will make me do 50 extra push-ups.
you know, I'm so nice to you. I was thinking about bringing in some box of goodies for you. Temptation. Hey, here's another Christmas present, gang. The stock market's up. So businesses, even though there's a lot of uncertainty and expectations are maybe moderate, but the stock market's holding firm. Housing market's improving.
That's good.
Especially in the San Bernardino, Riverside County area.
Ooh, that's where it's been the worst.
That's correct, along with Nevada and Arizona. But the housing industry has improved by about 17% from last year.
That's
up
good.
in value.
I'd like my house value.
And the last but not least, Canadians. I would say Canada.
Canada.
Canada. Canada is tis the season. Canada is spending on Christmas is up from last year by 7%. 7 cents on the dollar. Those Canadians are going crazy for Christmas.
Incredible. That's all great, great news.
And hopefully that news will roll over to the new year.
I hope so.
All right, let's talk about your business crazy.
We are going to talk about the loony, crazy business ideas that are actually working. So let's first talk about Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, what do some people tend to do? Do they tend to overdrink, maybe? Well, there's an anesthesiologist, Dr. Jason Burke, who noticed this was happening.
Wow, what a revelation.
Yeah, he's pretty smart at that. And he actually started a company called Hangover Heaven. And he's got some buses, and he will pick up the groggy commuters anywhere in Las Vegas and take them where they needed to go. Now, on the bus, he is able to help mix up any kind of medication, the amino acids and vitamins that are necessary to help to get them beyond their state of inebriation. So would you call it a drunk bus or something like that? Maybe.
I would call it a
Hangover Heaven,
a directless bus.
Okay. Well, it's he wants to help save some accidents on the road and the broken bones and all that can be associated with driving and drinking, which should not be done.
Hey, let's call it. What's this guy's name? I'm going to call him.
This is Dr. Jason Burke.
I want to call Jason Burke.
He is a certified anesthesiologist, which means he can put you to sleep over the phone.
Oh, great. So, definitely. So, self-medicate. Hey, I'd be kind of curious to know what the insurance is on that business. Wouldn't that be a high liability? Wouldn't you have to have an umbrella insurance?
I think that your bus driver would not be able to participate in the festivities.
Well, I don't know. Driving a bus full of inebriated folks, that sounds kind of questionable. Would you want to be driving a bunch of inebriated individuals?
That would be tough. Can
you imagine the conversations you'd get into? And then males and females together? I mean, this compartmentalized? I mean, they have their own seating? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah, that's maybe a little side business. I don't want to imply any of that, but I understand that the company has a lot of liquid assets.
Well, I hope that bus business doesn't go bust.
Oh, boy, you're on a roll. Very good. Well, let's move on down the road a little bit here and talk about another company that has been coming up with a business idea. They call it Run for Your Lives.
Is that after you get off the bus?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's called Crawl for Your Life there when you get off that bus. But they started a company for putting on road races. If you've ever run in a road race and you feel that your time was not quite fast enough, then the Run for Your Lives company has put together runs so far all over the United States and Canada, and they hope to expand soon. But they have set up their runs so the actors who are dressed up as zombies will run and chase you to help you increase your time.
Why are they dressed up as zombies?
It's supposed to, I guess, scare you and help you run faster. So it's a fun run, I think, is what it is.
Well, let me. You're working out, right? You're running.
Yes.
So, what scares you to run? A zombie? If I were dressed up as a zombie and enter one of your races, would you run faster?
If you were behind me, I'd run faster anyway, even if you were dressed up as a zombie. You set yourself up for that one.
So let me get this straight. So there's nothing like fear to motivate you. Is this what this is about?
It's supposed to be fear to motivate you, yes. Yes. And the company says that while they are currently just in North America, they, according to their website, the virus is spreading. And they expect to be in other areas sometime soon.
The virus is spreading.
Yeah, scary stuff. All right, here's another one for you. Now, this one's not too wacky, but it is a great idea. If you live in a city area where people are having to pay for parking along the street, then you can rent out some spot maybe in your driveway or in front of your house. There's a website, Park Circa, CIRCA, and they've come up with a brilliant idea where property owners can advertise on this website that they have some parking space available. So this is really good if you live near an area that has some big convention center or some other gathering where people have to find a place to park, maybe the beach. So,
I love supply and demand. That's a great illustration of scarcity.
Yes.
Parking spots.
Absolutely.
And, of course, you know how it works. The closer the parking spot, the higher the rent.
Oh, yeah, you've got to do that.
Well,
right?
I was just waiting for an opportunity to finally share the Heinzma axiom when it comes to parking.
What's that?
You ready for this?
No.
This is original. I've made this up. What do you mean you're not ready for it?
Yeah,
I hope you use it. So, Heinzma family goes out. We're looking for a parking spot.
Okay.
And, of course, you know how it is. You drive in. You're trying to find the parking spot, the perfect parking spot next to the building. And you never do. And then you find yourself getting behind somebody. And you know who's going to get the parking spot first, right?
That's right, the person in front of you, unless they're blind.
Unless you go in reverse, but there's somebody behind you, so you're kind of wedged in.
Okay.
So here's what I do. After spending hours and hours finding the perfect parking spot and saving my family from walking miles, I decided to invent this, basically the Heinzma axiom. And it's something like this. The farther you park away from the building, the greater the likelihood you're going to find a parking spot. If you follow that axiom, it is true. You will find a parking spot. If you have to walk 2 miles, well, that's just the opportunity cost of finding a parking spot.
Very true. And you get some extra exercise, too. How's that?
Well, I did that for you. So next time you're out with your family, and I think you have a relatively large family.
Yes.
Then keep that in mind. You know, park 5 miles away. Isn't that what you run, 5Ks?
Hey, yes. And speaking of running 5Ks, we almost forgot our fitness guru message here. So I'm gonna play that real quick since we have just a couple minutes. Are you ready for that? Well, here it comes anyway.
I need to give you a chance to reply.
Exactly.
You know what that music means. It's time for the Saturday morning guru of fitness, Paul David.
Good morning, Dennis and Dewey. This is Paul David from Elevate Fitness Studio, calling you with your weekly fitness tip. And this week, I have 5 quick practical tips to help ensure that your listeners don't pack on the pounds this holiday season. Number 1, have a protein shake before you leave for the party. Might sound odd to have something before the actual dinner, but believe it or not, it helps to curb your appetite and prevent you from overindulging. Number 2, do something called interval training when you exercise. Just do a quick Google search on it. It will save you time. It's probably one of the most efficient ways to help you burn body fat and really helps to improve your fitness radically faster. Number 3, if you choose to have alcohol, do it with some water. Sip of red wine, then a sip of water. It will really help to make a big difference with preventing somebody from getting dehydrated and getting too much of a buzz, especially. Number 4, do not skip your mid-afternoon snack. Blood hormone levels take a big dive around that time. So try to choose a protein-dominant snack to help stabilize your cravings and blood sugar levels. For example, some turkey jerky or a protein shake or a protein bar, handful of raw walnuts, Greek yogurt mixed with cinnamon, all really good suggestions to try to help you balance your blood sugar levels. And finally, number 5, make home a safe place. Don't keep candy, pies, seasonal treats and the like at home. By all means, enjoy them at the party. Just don't convert home into a place where you're constantly fighting that sugar battle. That's it for now.
Hey, thanks a lot, Paul. We appreciate the fitness tip every day. And we're going to go back to just a couple more loony business ideas here. That's enough. Okay, let's talk. Do you love bacon?
I love bacon.
Great. Well, would you pay to get it delivered to your door? Because that's a lot of work to go to the store and buy it, isn't it?
I know. It's so much work. The store's right around our house. I would have bacon delivered.
Well, the pignextdoor.com will deliver for you. They started this up as a subscription program, I guess, that you automatically get pork smoked and cured for your eating pleasure, delivered right to your door for a small premium every week, I think it is. So isn't that incredible?
For a small premium? Is that premium bacon?
Premium bacon, a premium
USDA
price.
approved.
All right, hey, we've got 2 wonderful ideas to end with here. The first is, I've always wanted a boulder made out of paper. Haven't you?
Oh, yeah, I definitely would like to have a boulder made out of paper. That would be good for my muscle definition.
Definitely. Well, origamiboulder.com, oh my goodness, have they come up with a great idea. This is almost as good as the Pet Rock. Yeah, it hasn't quite caught on yet as much as the Pet Rock has, but the origami is the art of folding paper into intricate shapes, of course, like swans or animals. But did you know that the average boulder, which is a crumpled up piece of paper, put in a fancy box and shipped to you, is now considered a origami boulder? And the haiku and bamboo display, this is the box that it comes in. It can be ordered, and while it is just a crumpled up piece of paper, it's definitely a piece of art, I guess.
Well, sounds like a solid business to me.
It looks good on paper anyway.
Hey, paper is about as good as what's written on it.
That's right. Speaking of paper, we got 1 minute left to talk about.
Oh my goodness!
This is the SHITTER. I don't think we can say that on the.
Oh,
on the air.
That's Shutter.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's
okay.
Shutter.
CollectorsEd.com makes rolls of toilet paper with little messages from Twitter on it. So if you don't like Twitter and you want to...
You go to the restroom and Shutter with Twitter.
That's right. And you can put it all behind you, if you know what I mean. So it's going to be hard to stop. We're on a roll here.
I hope gravity's working.
Well, with that, I think we're going to wipe out the end of the show here and clean up our act. I'm feeling a little flush.
But just remember the Shutter.
The Shutter, SHITTER.
You need to work on your spelling.
I think so. CollectorsEd.com. And that's it for our show today. We loved having you. And thanks again to Larry for being on the show.
And Merry Christmas, everybody!
Kilowatts of power. Broadcasting almost across the valley. AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.